Michael Cooper has decided to join Sheffield United. Adam, initial thoughts on the deal?
Yeah, I had a lot of similar words to say on Monday night when it looked like it was imminent, and as it proved it was. It doesn't make it any less sad. I know we're it's like a stage of green. We've had a chance to prepare for this. It's happened now. I'm still looking at him in those reveal photos in the Sheffield United goalkeeper shirt, the number 1 on his back, and I'm just like, why can't I have that for me? It's. I think in the cold light of day, and maybe in a few years down the line, I'll have to realise this. It could prove to be a deal that suits most of the parties, because as much as we'd have preferred to keep him, the chances are, if we did, he'd be going on a free next summer. We'll be losing for nothing. If he goes on and does well, then of course, the fact that there are add-ons involved, the fact that we've got a very good, by the sounds of it, sell-on fee, could easily come and help us. Equally speaking, that's 2 million that's immediately in the coffers for us now to budget for and consider how exactly we want to replace him, how exactly we want to use the rest of the money on the squad, where, by the way, we've already got the cash reserves in place to start making those signings if we find it necessary. So if this is worked out correctly by our recruitment team and by the board and by the head coach, which, debatable, but if it is, it's something that could just about work to us if we get someone perhaps who's nearly as good as Michael Cooper, because I don't think you're going to find value of someone who's as good as Michael Cooper to replace him, but someone who's nearly on his level perhaps, and you then use the additional money to go forward and, for example, make a midfield signing. I don't know. That's the sort of thing that could end up being a net benefit for us, but I think it's less likely. I think it's one of those where he's going to go and perform and we're just going to be crying about what we're missing. And I do wish him well, ultimately, because one, it's nice to see an Argyle Academy graduate do well, and two, I want to see some more money. So, yeah, and I think he's well placed to do well. Because I think I briefly mentioned on Sunday, on Monday, they brought in Ivo Gerbic to be their goalkeeper for the second half of the Premier League season last year. He's absolutely dreadful. So he's going to be very comfortable starting, and he's the sort of goalkeeper who, at this level, we know is going to impress. So it'll work for Sheffield United. It'll work for Michael Cooper, provided he stays fit. I hope it'll work for Plymouth Argyle. I think that's much easier said than done. But I hope long term we'll see the great value of this deal. But right now, it hurts. I don't like it.
Can I say, first of all, the injury at Sheffield Wednesday when Josh Windass hit him mid-air was the time when our transfer value for him diminished month by month, because it took him a long time to recover. Then he did his other knee. So straight away, there's a fitness doubt if you're looking to pay big bucks. So he only had, I think, was it 19 championship games all in all, and 2 complete seasons. So the value in our minds relative to the value in potential purchasers was somewhat different. And then the reality was Premiership clubs would only consider him as a number 2. Clearly he didn't want to do that. And there was only one club that made any bid at all for him. And when you're the sole bidder, what do you do? And I think that's why the deal ended up as it was. It was an unfortunate set of circumstances that ended this way. But I watched his exit interview on Argyle TV, and I thought he was really good. He did admit to say that he did refuse to sign the contract offered to him to extend his, I think it was rumoured to be 4 years and a substantial increase in money, but he's reputedly going to be on $1.5 million a year basic. To all intents and purposes, a near Premiership outfit, a yo-yo club at worst. For him, it was a no-brainer, and he's given us a service. He's not going to play for us anymore, so we did the best we can. It's not as good as people would want, not as good as the club would want, but I'd love him to do really well, not only because we get more money down the line, but he was one of the best, if not the best keeper in all the years I've been watching Argyle. And I just thank him for his excellence over the years, because that's what it was.
I think that's main reason why it's so hard to take, right? It's because he just was so good for us that, and even if he was one of our own, and it's 100% profit and all of that sort of stuff, it's just still kind of hard to take. Personally, I'm like flopping between I really want him to do really well, and then part of me is like, I really hope it doesn't go well and the grass isn't greener like we've seen with a few other people that have left the club. But I think I'll get off that high horse in a bit, and like you said, just wish him all the best. Joe, feel like you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I'm pretty furious about it all, to be brutally honest with you. I think it's a god-awful deal for Plymouth Argyle Football Club. Nobody's at fault for that. It's just, as Graham highlights the timeline of events, 2.5 years ago, we're sat on a goalkeeper who's worth 5 times for what he's actually gone for. And it's just, life has thrown a spanner in the works, and he obviously got, he was wiped out of the game at Hillsborough, and that put a spanner in the works. Then he picked up the injury the season after. So in that sense, I think it's a frustration. I think it's not the way that either party wanted the relationship to end. I think, I said on Twitter today, didn't I, that there's no or the other day I said there's no fairy tales in football, but it's not the way this should end, to be really honest with you. This is a lad who's been at the club since he was very young. They've both stood by one another. They've both done the great amount of respect and loyalty on both sides. Let's not forget that over the last couple of years, Michael Cooper's been signing 1-year extensions for this exact outcome, that somebody from a higher standing would come in and take him off our hands. I'm frustrated it's for as low a figure as it is, particularly when you see the 2 years that we were in League One, Gavin Bazuna and James Trafford, who are 2 subpar keepers compared to Michael Cooper, went for much, much greater money. I think, I don't think anybody can deny that for Michael Cooper it's a very good deal, and the likelihood is in 12 months' time he'll be gearing up for the first game of the Premier League season as Sheffield United's #1 goalkeeper. Nobody will take that away from him, but equally I'm in the viewpoint that he's gone. He's made it clear that he wanted to go from the moment Rooney came into the building. So there's a couple of discrepancies on what Rooney said about the saga and what Cooper said in his interview today about the saga. I just think now's the time to draw a line under it. Thank you for the memories, Coops, and there were many of them. From that unbelievable bowl-out pass against Burton to the man of the match performance at Stamford Bridge to the Hull game to the Leicester game. You can keep going on and on and on. The Huddersfield FA Cup game, you could just keep going about it. Thank you for everything. He was part of that quite staggering League One winning team, of which I highlighted today. There's now only 7 players left from that squad photo before that season kicked off. He was part of that, but look, he's now a Sheffield United player, so I give him I take about as much notice now as I would do for any player who has left the football club. I'm not going to be suddenly looking out for Sheffield United's results because they're in a different fight to us in exactly the same league. Equally, from Argyle's point of view, I hope he goes on and Sheffield United get promoted, because by all accounts that might well be one of the performance-based add-ons. And then, of course, I hope in 2 years, 3 years' time, one of the bigger clubs in the Premier League come in and make a ridiculous offer for him if he's progressed further. But we've seen in the past with players who've left Argyle, that isn't a guarantee. I remember there was all the talk of Jack Stevens leaving Southampton a few years ago to go to Arsenal, and that never materialised. I'm pretty sure we still had a sell-on with him from Southampton. So it's not a shoe-in that we're going to get that sell-on. But yeah, he's a Sheffield United player. Thank you for the memories. Good luck to him. Good luck to Sheffield United, other than the 2 games we play against them. But now the focus is on Hull and getting another goalkeeper in, as far as I'm concerned. I'll calm down
Yeah.
eventually, but I'm just the way it's happened, the way it's transpired on all sides of the argument. Nobody's to blame. It's pointless pointing fingers because it's only going to end up burning bridges. Nobody's to blame. It's just a fait accompli of how it's panned out, and let's just move on because it's just been a bit rubbish on both sides of how we've not cashed in on a great talent, but equally, it's good for him that he's going to be playing Premier League football, I'd imagine, in 12 months' time, because they're assembling a truly ridiculous squad, even if I don't really give the manager much of the light of day these days, but hey-ho. Maybe that's for a Sheffield United preview pod later in the season.
Absolutely. A couple of things. Knowing our luck, it will be a Dan Gosling style sell-on clause in which he leaves the club one game before it's triggered. It will be I will be looking out for Sheffield United results, mainly because I have FOTMOB notifications for basically every player that's ever played for Argyle. So the fact that I know how Clyde Lollos was getting on at Oxford City makes me think I'll definitely know how Michael Cooper gets on in the same league as us. And Joe, you've basically stolen my next question anyway, which is just about his highlights and 161 games, 55 clean sheets if we count the 2 games he came off the bench. Any highlights you guys want to pick out that Joe didn't mention?
I think Joe got it spot on.
Yeah, annoyingly, yeah.
Yeah, hard to
Every now and
disagree
again,
with
I
it.
do.
Yeah, I think it's obviously tricky with keepers. The way that they we've all got saves in our mind of when it happened, but I think the fact that it's hard to pinpoint like an exact moment or the stunning save of his time just goes to the quantity of just how many he made and how many good games he had. They all kind of merge into one. Like there's like, oh, Michael Cooper made a great save today. Michael Cooper had a great game. It's like, well, yeah, of course he did. He's Michael Cooper. So yeah, it's one of those players. Reliable. I think it's almost not been said, but the level of errors actually in his game was so much lower than you expect from an average goalkeeper. You expect them to make a wonderful save every now and then, but the consistency Cooper offered, the fact that it's
Particularly
very
a young
rare.
keeper as well.
Well,
Yeah.
exactly. For 24, he's still got many years in the game, and he's showed intelligence and maturity well beyond his years. So yeah, well, here I am again gushing about Cooper when I said it was time to move on. What am I like? But he's that sort of player. We're going to be doing this a few more times, I'm sure. But yeah, wish him luck and move on.
I know I
Absolutely.
referenced the Chelsea game. I would be very interested to know off the back of that game. I think we were already into the first weekend of February, weren't we? So the transfer window wasn't opened. That was the season we missed out on the playoffs on 81 points, however many it was in the end. I'd love to know if there was any interest that summer. It would probably make me weep into an inconsolable mess, but I'd be really interested to know if, off the back of that season and off the back of that performance alone, whether clubs higher up the pyramid actually did show interest in him and what sort of money they were talking. If they did, it would have been more than the 2 million we've just accepted.